Welcome, my beautiful souls. Today we're going to do a very special reading. We are asking for messages from our loved ones who have gone before us. One of the main reasons why I really felt called to do this reading, many of you know my son crossed over. Oh my God, all of a sudden I want to cry. Um, February of 2018, but yesterday was his earthly birthday. And, normally I'm okay, but I had a hard day yesterday, a hard day. And I asked my son to send me a message through music because that's what I do. I just put on music, I put my headphones on, and I swear to God, like as soon as I asked that, the songs that came, I knew they were for me. I knew they were special between him and I. And yeah, so, I woke up this morning and that's all that was on my mind. Like, I have to do a reading from loved ones who have gone before us. I have to do a reading before loved ones who've gone before. So I know that's our spiritual team, just letting me know what type of reading I should do today. So I do feel like this is going to be a very special reading. I feel like, even though I'm talking about my son, I want you to understand that because we're all soul connected, you and I, um, that your spiritual team definitely, let's just say the majority, um, are more than happy to bring you a message. I'm just the vessel. I'm the messenger. Um, but I leave myself open to the light, to our guides, for any special messages for you. And this is definitely the type of reading where I just feel like you will know. You will know. You don't have to second guess it. I do ask that you listen with your intuition, your spiritual ears. Um, but I know a lot of you have also lost dear loved ones. So this is for you. This is really for you. So let's go ahead and get into the reading. So we're gonna let Mother Mary, of course, have the honor of opening up our reading. I am going to use, I was going back and forth whether to use a major arcanas, and I even put them away. And then when I went to get this deck out, they were stuck to them. So I'm like, well, that's a sign. Everything in my office is a sign. Everything in my life is a sign. But I've learned, let's just say in the last 20 years, how to really pay attention to the signs. Um, Also, we will use the crystal vision to clarify or go deeper, the way I like to say it. For the main spread, this was definitely calling out to me, the Light Seers Tarot. So I have to tell you, just because the Light Seers Tarot is calling out to me, it makes me feel that this is going to be an uplifting reading. Like we are meant to be uplifted. So we'll let the light seers do the talking, but let's go ahead and open up the reading. I'm going to bring this lid down and we are going to start with Mother Mary. So everything is pre-shuffled, by the way. I do like to shuffle with you here, but this also gives you a moment just to clear your mind. Certainly call on someone. You may have someone in mind that you would love to hear a message from. So feel free. All right, Mother Mary. It's interesting because I have tears in my eyes, um, but I feel like it's more for you. Um, what am I saying? Like, I feel it's for those who are, even though I had a tough time yesterday, it's really not the norm because I know that my son is with God. I know that. I feel it, and God has put it in my heart. Um, he's in the light. I know it. So, why am I telling you this? I don't know. I guess to say that your loved one is also there. All right. So we start with boundaries. I am clear and honest with others about my expectations. Hmm. Now remember, when we do messages from loved ones, sometimes they're giving you advice, helping you to, let's say, go to the next level. So I have a feeling this is saying that for some of you, boundaries may need to be created, like drawing that sand in the line. And why would I do that? Because it is about your self respect. This is what I'm hearing. It's about what you deserve. And knowing that, like, know what you deserve. Know that if you've been, let's just say, I keep trying to find a better word than saying working, but let's just say you've been enhancing your spirituality. That means your vibration is raising. So when I see boundaries, I often feel like it doesn't mean everyone around me that their vibration is lifting. And it's just natural that as we ourselves evolve, that those who choose not to, because it is their choice, naturally fade away. Now, sometimes we pull them back in, them or situation, but I get this sense of knowing. Like, I have a feeling the majority of you know exactly why this is here. And those who don't, the rest of the reading will definitely let us know. So, boundaries. Okay. Now, this is not the Eight of Swords. This isn't a self created prison. This is you knowing, and this is you being clear with what you now know. Okay, so not a self created prison. All right, let's bring in the major arcanas. All right, I have a feeling there's certain cards that already want to come out. Wow. Hello, Will. Hello, Destiny. Hello, blind faith. This woman is about to spin this wheel, which is her destiny, but she's blindfolded. She's trusting faith. She's trusting in divine. Sometimes I feel like maybe things are not so easy that I'm willing to spin this wheel with a blindfold. Wherever it lands probably is better than where I've been or where I am. But this can also speak about a destined time is opening up for you. For some reason, right, like I've never said this before with this image, but she's reminding me of the Fool, like the willingness to take a leap of faith. And the Fool doesn't know what the ultimate destination is about, but the Fool doesn't care. The Fool's about that leap just to go on the adventure. So we'll see. And I love that there are other people in line. For some reason, it's reminding me of like a carnival um game, though it's not a game. This is your destiny. But other people waiting to spin that wheel. I'm noticing, interesting, that I'm noticing, which I don't know that I ever have before. She is dressed in black, so she could be mourning, missing someone. That's interesting. I never noticed that before. All right. We have the moon. When the moon hits your eye like a big pizza pie, that's amore. Boy, that song has been stuck in my head. And I have to tell you, that lets me know that my dad is also with me. And I also got that song in someone's personal reading, and she knew immediately how it related to her. See, that's the thing. It can relate to us in different ways, but each of us, you know, like that's a song that my dad and I used to sing. But that song, well, I don't want to go on and on, but so the moon, card of Pisces, ruler of Cancer. The moon is about uncertainties, right? I can only see as far as the moonlight allows me to see. But maybe that's all I need to see for right now. The moon is also dreamy energy. So, don't be afraid to dream and dream big. And it's interesting. I'm noticing in the moon that this is a woman looking down. So I feel like the person in the moon, some of you, it may be someone that looks familiar to you. But I feel like this is also a guide. Now, for some, it could mean that they were a Pisces or a Cancer, but I feel like they're helping you to spin that wheel, to take a chance. Take a chance on what? On you, wherever it may lead. Yes, the moon can talk about uncertainties. And again, I feel the energy of the fool, like, that's okay. I just want to go on an adventure. I just want something new, right? But let's remember that the moon is also very dreamy energy. Some of you may be connecting to a loved one in dreams. I've had a couple dreams of my son, but not very many. And I always wish that I could have more. But I have to say, I feel him in the majority of our readings. All right. Well, death card. So number one, it is the card of Scorpio. It is about transformation. It is endings, but it's not the end. It's really just the beginning. The one thing you shouldn't do is fear the death card. And I do feel here, and I don't feel this very often, that this is talking about death, the crossing over. That's the word I meant to use, the crossing over. Why can't I just say death? Because it just sounds, it's making someone not feel good. So let's just say crossing over. But again, this is about transformation, but in your life. And then we get the Empress. Wow. Clearly, some of you, this is your mother. This is a mother figure. Can be your a grandma, a big sister, but they have maternal instincts. Interesting. Well, when I do these type of readings, I have to say, I feel like our guides, our loved ones, are very clear and happy to share. So the Empress is mirroring the wheel. Now, even though I do feel the Empress is talking about, for a lot of you, a mother figure, but someone who probably nurtured you in some way. I feel like she's got a message for you, though. I feel like her message is about your abundance, your creation, the things that you have left to do on this earth. You know, why did someone go before? Because it was their time, but it's not your time. Like, there's things that I feel have yet to be accomplished. The Empress is so creative, and you guys are so creative. And I love how you just, when I do podcast and, things like that, I love how on board the majority of you are, like allowing me to flex my creative muscles. Well, I feel like that's what some of your spirit guides are saying to you. Like, don't be afraid to flex those creative muscles. Don't be afraid of transformation. Yes, their earthly life has come to an end, but we're all spiritual beings. And that's what we want to remember. We are all spiritual beings in these human bodies for experiences, adventures, lessons, blessings, and all that goes along with that. The highs, the lows, the in betweens. All right. And by the way, my mother is also crossed over. Her birthday was August 5th. All right, I feel like I want to slide these over. I don't know why I keep playing with them. I have to tell you, when I'm touching the cards, it's like I can feel the messages through them. So you'll see me often just like, it looks like I'm being, what's the word I want to use? You know, uh, so interesting when I really do shut my mind down so that I can be open, completely open. But then when I need my thought system, it's not there. So, but you know what? Many of you now can read my mind. So you know exactly what I'm thinking. Okay, let's bring in the Light Seers Tarot. Again, already pre-shuffled. Strength card. Interesting because it's a card of Leo, and that's what my son was, a Leo. So I feel like right from the get-go, my son's letting us know that we're here. We're here. Strength card. You know, it's those inner feelings. Um, I feel like why this is here is because it's telling you that you are stronger than you think. You know, I feel like I feel like there's some guides who want to say, number one, I felt a couple different things. Like the first thing I noticed was this eight, this tattoo of an eight on this person's arm. And that may ring a bell. Number eight is a number of infinity, as above, so below. No beginning, no end. So again, though they may not be in their human body, they're in their spiritual being, which we will be one day also. So again, no beginning, no end. It to me feels like definitely a symbol of like we are right here with you. Now, I do feel like some guides are saying it's not that, how do I say this? Do you ever get over it? Well, I feel like you learn to live with it. You know what I mean? Like I didn't expect to have a bad day yesterday. And I actually plan ahead, like I get a birthday cake and all that, but yesterday was just different for me. You know, the strength card, you can see this person is half woman, half lion, but she's got this gentle little lamb on her lap. That reminds me so much of the Empress. And the Empress also, now I'm speaking for you, like as you as are the Empress. This is an energy she has, that she goes through. The Empress knows who she is, the good, the bad, the ugly, all sides, right? And even like the gentleness, or the lamb, the gentleness of this baby lamb, the lion, the courage, right? And then the human, what the vehicle that's carrying it all around, even the heart as her necklace. Like, my love didn't go anywhere. I also feel like there's a tattoo for some. Doesn't have to be number 8. Um, so this person, I feel like it would be, if they were facing the same way I am, it would be on their left. On their left. But I don't know that that matters. Look at that. Mama and son. And even my daughter, who is here. Thank God. Wow. Okay. We're not going to refuse them. But what we're going to do is start with what's face up. So we have the Two of Wands. Beautiful. Seeking a new adventure. Coming right under the wheel or connected to the wheel and the Strength card. And I feel like that's exactly what your loved ones would want you to do. This person isn't quite in movement yet. I often feel in the Two of Wands, we've stepped upon the path, but we can see this person is looking out these big windows, looking at the world. She's got I feel like it's a walking stick. How interesting. I don't know if you can see over in that corner. I have a walking stick. It looks exactly like that. She's got a globe, a map, this other walking stick. It's your loved one. It's like they're there. Some of you may have gone, oh boy, it reminds me of my son again, because we used to go on long hikes. But I feel like because that one wand is still against the wall where she's holding this wand, she may be going herself. But her loved one is right there with her. And then look at this, the world. That's beautiful. And the person in the middle of, let's say, the portal here, I feel is the Fool. So the world does talk about completion. Something has come to completion. But that means that something, well, the world chapter to me is, the enlightenment. It is the chapter of enlightenment. It's reminding me of the book I just did, teaching you tarot in story form, The Life of Claire. Like she had to take this step. She didn't have to. She chose to. And her whole life changed. Look at the 2 and the 2. But even the 21 comes down to a 3, joy. Something to celebrate. All right. We have the Queen of Wands, Aries, Leo, Sagittarius. Doesn't have to be. To me, this is a queen of action. This queen follows her passion. And I feel like for a lot of you, that's what I'm saying your spiritual team because that's what they are. They're part of your spiritual team now. Is everyone part of your spiritual team? Not all the time, I don't feel like, but when certain situations come up, I feel like there's certain guides who like, hey, that's my expertise. Let me in the front right now. So, anyways, this queen definitely follows her passion. She looks like she is rising above something, right? Like she's just rising above. She's got her hand like open to the world's energy. She has that wand that we see in the Two of Wands in her hand. There feels like there's more joy. And maybe because you're able to allow yourself to feel that, knowing that your loved one really wants you to take these adventures. I would have never, as much as I love Sam and have really loved him all my life, um, I never would have moved here. I never would have left my daughter because I still wrestle with that. Um, but I feel that my son wanted me here, like wanted me to get, like wanted me to really be with the love of my life. Okay, interesting. Two pentacles in reverse. And I'll tell you why it's interesting. The one thing I do before every reading is I make sure all the decks, whatever deck I'm going to be using, or the decks I'm going to be using, I make sure they're all in the upright. So when something comes out reverse like that, then I know it was meant to be reversed. So decision in the Two of Pentacles. Two Pentacles they call the Juggler's card. I could have a lot of balls up in the air, a lot of things going on, but this is a question. So to me, it's like, will you or won't you? Do you or don't you? And I feel like there's no reason for whatever this next adventure is. And even though we are starting at the two, which I think is a good thing, because another thing that we want to remember, by the way, where'd my knowledge come from? My spiritual team. Um, but what I was going to say is what we want to remember is that we are the author of our own book. We are the director of our own film, and this film is the story of our lives. So the power we have within that, especially when you realize that you're working hand in hand with divine. So, that's why, even though we have the two, which feels like the full, and then we have the full or the world, which is the enlightenment, so it's the beginning to the actual destination. But yet I still feel it's like unwritten because you're the one who's going to write it. And I love that it's coming through the Queen of Wands energy because she is the queen that will follow this passion. She's not a fear based energy. Doesn't mean she doesn't have fear. We all do. But she doesn't let fear be the ultimate decider of whether I'm going to do something or not. If I feel passionate about it, then I'm going to take a chance. Or that's what your loved ones are asking you to take these chances. You can always change courses. Let's say you start down this path and you're like, I'm not ready for it yet. or, whatever it may be, you can, there will be another path that'll be shown to you. And then you decide. Okay, let's keep going. Look at this, another question, Seven of Cups, except this is an emotional decision. And it can certainly talk about making a decision, but in chaotic type energy. Now, that could be chaos that's around you. And then we have the Page of Swords. Just look at this person. First of all, she's reading a book, and from this book, she's getting all these ideas coming under that Two of Wands. I can take these ideas, these epiphanies, and I can really create whatever I want from them. These epiphanies and ideas, let me tell you, they're also coming from the heavens right to you. And it doesn't mean you have to use every single one. Boy, something is just telling me that if you listen to these, let's just call them epiphanies, and maybe I'm not quite in the place to work on them, to bring them about, but then I would jot them down because I feel like because this is coming from loved ones, that the time will come. So just jot, like, as you get these ideas, these epiphanies, but it just doesn't feel like the right time for you, write them down and go back and visit it. You know what I mean? Like with fresh eyes. I feel like you're being guided, but I do feel like you have to make the decision of whether you follow or you don't. I love that the world is right in the middle because to me, the world speaks of our most spiritual time. Even the patterns. All right, keep going. So you have some decisions. I feel like some of you have made a decision about one thing, and maybe that's the direction you go as it relates to these ideas, these epiphanies, like business ownership, or like you decide to do a podcast, something you have a feeling for some of you that you've been wanting to do. And maybe like you couldn't figure out how to do it, or you didn't know if you'd be good enough. And now I feel like you are getting the support from your loved ones to do really whatever. But you put that along with the epiphanies that they're sending you. Wow. No wonder we have the world in the middle. Because I feel like you're being led and you're being led in the right direction. But yes, it does need your action. Like you have to be willing. But let's keep going. It's almost like saying you just got to get back into life again. Three of Swords. Well, that makes sense, right? The heartache. Three of Swords has already happened. But I definitely feel like this is talking about the heartache, right? That feeling of loss. But I also want to say, coming into the world, which again is a 21, add that up as a 3, as is this, two different ways of, well, let's just say two different energies. Hmm. I feel like what this is also saying is when we're able to put down the I could have, I should have, what ifs, and all that. And instead, look at this from a point of view of we all have our time. And I feel like the heartache of it, I do feel, and I know it does lighten with time. I know that. But I really feel what it's saying is the more that you just trust, some of you are able to connect. Again, it may be in your dreams, but they're real. That's the thing. They may make no sense. Again, write them down because you never know. Like these things that you're writing down may turn out to be like a book, might turn out to be a new business. For some of you, this is inspiration to help you through, and then you may want to help others. It's exactly why I do what I do. To help those who've gone through things that I've gone through. But boy, do I feel like they're talking to you. Like they are talking to you. And if you don't like hear the voice, so to speak, feel it in your heart. Because I feel they are talking. They're also recognizing, the energy. They know how hard it is for you. But they also, it's interesting because it is so hard to lose someone, right? But yet, if we look at the other side of it, that's why I always say don't fear the death card. Because to me, that's when, like, actual death, the transformation, right, from the human body to the spiritual being, or back to the spiritual being. Well, not that the spiritual being ever went anywhere, but you know what I'm saying. Um, I forget what I was going to say. But I could see some of you helping others. And it doesn't, the one thing you want to remember, and I feel like this is a message from someone, you don't have to know everything. Just talk. For some of you, that may be a message. Just talk. Let it out. Maybe just do a video or, let's say you want to do a podcast. Anderson Cooper has a great podcast for those who are grieving, and they speak a lot about it. But I could see you doing that. That's the thing. I feel like there's no limits. I just feel like there's no limits. And I feel like for those who have a mother figure, I feel like what the mother figure is saying is, I actually can do more for you from here than I could living on that earthly plane. They're recognizing that, like, I don't know, power is the right word, but they're recognizing, I feel like how I can help my child. Or if it's a child, how I can help my mom or my dad. Okay, let's keep going. We have Four of Pentacles. Hello, Ten of Cups. Wow. Interesting because it's mirroring the Seven of Cups. And then beautiful, the Four of Swords. This means a couple different things: rest, rejuvenation, giving yourself the time that you need, but also making sure that you get back up and get out there into the world, slowly but surely. I feel like this Ten of Cups is yet to be, because it's following the world. And it almost feels like loved ones are saying, we had this Ten of Cups. This is that wand also. But this Ten of Cups can be had again in a different way. It reminds me of, the love I had with my son and my daughter. The happy home, not all the time, but, just the love that's always there. And I feel like now, because I felt like my son guided me or let me trust in the fact that it's okay to be with Sam. Um, it's a different Ten of Cups. So I've created a different Ten of Cups. I hope that makes sense because I feel like that's an important message. Anyways, healing. You know, we have to face the fact that we'll never be the same. But that doesn't mean that we can't do great things in this world or we can't, some of us taking our sorrow and helping others. Like that may be the greatest gift you can give. All right, well, I wasn't going to take any more, but something is telling me to follow that Four of Swords. So I'm going to. I'm going to listen. If any reading I want to listen, it's this one. Well, look what just flipped itself around. Five of Swords. Toxic energy. Interesting. I feel like, and I know I'm one of them, I feel like this is for those who have lost someone who had some type of, well, let me just say, it's hard for me to even say this because, like, I think, would my son want me to say this, but I know he does. You know, he was an alcoholic, and alcohol ended up taking his life. It destroyed him from within. The strength card. It's something that he couldn't overcome in this lifetime. But the healing, what that's telling me, which I already know, but I feel like what a beautiful representation of not only us healing, but them healing. It's like whatever ailments they had, gone. Whatever temptations that hook them into that lower vibrational energy, gone. Immediately gone. Doesn't mean they didn't have to reflect upon it. Because I do feel like when we cross over, we go through a life review. It's not about judgment. It's about truly knowing. Well, I feel like the life review shows us everything. It shows us how we have affected people, both in good ways, but also in bad ways. Um, just our life. And that's what I feel the Five of Swords is representing. I'm not feeling, I'm not going to say no one is dealing with toxic energy right now. That's really what the Five of Swords is about. And it is a five, so it does talk about change. But I know for some, it is instantly talking about, whatever ailments held someone down in this lifetime, gone. Like, and I mean it, they're gone. And I know your guides want you to believe that. Even the healing coming right before that. We have the three, the four, and the Five of Swords. But the three, the heartache, the four, the healing, and then the five, I feel like is the instant elimination of anything toxic with that loved one. It's still interesting because I feel like I still want to cry, but I feel like the tears are for you. Yet I also want to say, do I think your loved ones want you to cry? I don't, because you don't need to. Not if you're worried about where they may be. I don't like, I feel like this is really saying you do not need to worry about that. And the other part is just, of course, missing them. But again, of course we want to touch, right? We want to hold their hand or what have you. But we still, like, they're holding us in their spiritual light. All right. We have the moon again. Interesting. The moon now mirroring the world, which is actually really mirroring the moon. We have the Three of Cups, a reason to celebrate. So look how we had the Three of Swords. Now we have the Three of Cups. Let's put it this way. The Three of Cups is the energy of joy. And, I have a feeling like, I remember going through this when I first lost my son, like, and it was part of what I was wrestling with as it related to Sam. Like, how can I have joy? Like, I don't have the right to have joy. I don't have the right to have joy. But that wasn't the truth. Just what I thought. Not what my son wanted. My son wanted me to have joy. But I felt, how could I have joy? It was confusing. I remember it well. Yet ultimately feeling the guidance to move in with Sam. There's a lot that has gone, like I do tell you a lot, but there's still a lot that I haven't, which someday I'll continue to tell you. All right, well, let's keep going. Three of Wands, beautiful. First of all, another three, 33. Mastering, mastering something. This is the energy of optimism. This, oh, excuse me 1 second. Okay, sorry. Sam knocked at the door. So, anyways, the Three of Wands. And by the way, it's mirroring the Four of Swords. Three of Wands is it's definitely living in the present moment. Why is that so important? Because that's where your signs are sent. If we keep our energy focused on the past, it's going to be hard to pick up the signs. But when we are living in the present moment, this is where our spiritual team sends our signs, our guidance. This is also the energy if I expect good things to happen, and they do. And it's coming under the Ten of Cups, and it's again mirroring the Four of Wands, or the Four of Swords, healing, joy, optimism. This is why I feel like they wanted me to take this third line, because I only planned on doing two. This is, and by the way, it's mirroring the Empress, which is also number three. Three seems to be theme. So, in the Three of Wands, this is really where, I'm saying, let's say to my spiritual team, that I trust that good things will find me. But I'm in a state more of optimism, so I'm believing that. I have to believe it. I'm not even really searching. So I feel like it's not that I have to search for it. I just merely need to be in the energy, which I feel is probably opening you up. And then with that, the Hermit. I feel like that's beautiful because this is all about your spirituality. And this is not someone who's going into the cave, so into the dark night of the soul. I feel like we've already done that, right? That was the loss. And that is when you're in that dark night of the soul. So the hermit is seeking light, spiritual advice, spiritual wisdom. Well, you can see the hermit has found it because now the hermit has emerged from the cave and is sharing his beacon of light outwardly for others, but also for oneself. One of the things I feel with the hermit is sometimes I may be searching for a hero just to come in and save me. But really, what I figure out in this energy is I am the hero. I am my own hero. But don't forget the beautiful spiritual energy. And it's not just one, it's many. And angels, archangels. Like the spiritual team you have, all of us, is truly amazing. And they were predestined, let's say. Let's use that word, predestined. Like already set up before you even came into this lifetime. So they're here to help you overcome, but also to help yourself to overcome. But this to me makes perfect sense because I know a lot of you are really opening up in such beautiful ways spiritually. So, the hermit mirroring the Four of Swords, the natural healer. And sometimes you don't have to say a word. It's just your energy now. The evolution, we're seeing it right in front of our eyes. We're also in the year of the hermit. You have to, you don't have to, but it is something you want to remember because it is the end of a 9-year cycle. So jumping back up into the Two of Wands, who's looking at the world, which will be, I feel like it's sooner, but it's definitely representing 2026. We move from the Hermit's energy into the Magician's energy. That's going to be powerful, as is the Hermit's energy. Let's just say that this year has really been about reflection, spiritual growth, understanding oneself, letting go. Nines are always about final clarity. But it is so that you can take that wisdom and now put it in your tool belt, right? What have I learned? Courage, taking chances, overcoming, how to change my energy. So, it's like that's what I did yesterday. So funny. That just reminded me of it. Um, and I say this all the time, like put on music. But what I did is put on upbeat music. And I got up and I just started to dance. And I danced like nobody was watching. because nobody was, except for my spiritual team. I just cut loose. And I feel like that's exactly what my son wanted me to do. And again, I'm only talking about my son. Well, I love talking about my son. Um, but I really, really want you to understand that when I speak about anyone of my loved ones who have crossed over, it's only a reminder that your loved ones are also that proactive in your life, whether you feel it yet or not. And I guess the more that we're in the Three of Wands energy, the more we do feel it, the more we can see those signs. That's the thing. The signs are being sent, like simple little signs that only you would know. And I have a feeling some are in here that I may not even covered, but you picked it up. Page of Cups on the bottom of the deck. It's your inner child. You know, it's also, I love this image because it's like your higher self connecting to your earthly self. That spiritual wisdom. That's what it makes me think of. King of Wands. Interesting. That's my son. Page of Cups. Feels like healing to me. It just feels like healing. You know, you're going to have bad days. You're going to have them. Even though I plan, like, keep everything light and uplifting, like the day before my son's birthday or the day that he left this world, sometimes it grabs you unexpectedly. But they're always trying to help you. Like me putting on that music, and I'm telling you, I blared it. And I just danced like no one was watching. I became a teenager for a moment, and it felt good. All right, let's bring in the crystal vision. Um, I know I'm not really giving signs. Maybe I should, but the reason why I don't is because let's say I don't say your loved one sign. That does not mean they're not here. That's why sometimes I don't like giving signs. But I will, because I feel like someone out there is asking me to. So the death card of Scorpio, who is looking at the moon, card of Pisces, ruler of Cancer. The Empress, I really feel like is every queen, and every king. Like the Empress is someone who definitely lives in the present moment, definitely pays attention to these epiphanies, ideas. She's not someone who rushes to bring something, and it makes sense with the hermit here, because think about 9 months, right? That's how long we want to carry our child, 9 months to full completion, or that's not the right word, but you know what I'm saying. Um, but my point is, not everything is meant to be like immediate. Like, I feel like the epiphanies will be immediate, but the timing, well, let's just say it's more with your comfort level. And here I am getting off track. Anyway, so I feel like the Empress really, and I also feel like the Empress represents an old soul, as I feel the same with the Hermit. This is not something that is written in the tarot. It's something I feel. Look at me. I got half a deck of cards in one hand. By the way, look at that. Four swords on the bottom again. Not again, but the four swords again. All right. Let's go deeper if we dare. And why wouldn't we? Oh my gosh. Okay. Take them in order. We have the Seven of Swords over the Strength card. Hmm. You know, the first thing I feel is someone could have hid certain things in their lives, like maybe didn't want to speak the complete truth of, and I feel like this is more for those who had certain temptations in their life that they were trying to overcome. And I feel like I may have told you what you wanted to hear just to ease your mind. Normally this is what they call the trickster, the thief in the night, but I'm not feeling that. And I always feel that, but I don't feel it here. I feel this is just about truth that was held back. Well, part of it may be because I didn't want to hear what other people had to say, but I also feel that I didn't want to, I didn't want to cause worry. The Four of Wands, marriage card. By the way, I do feel like for some of you that it is your husband or wife. But I don't feel like this is the end. You know, again, this woman getting ready to spin that wheel, dressed in black. How interesting. I just realized that the man is dressed in black, a woman in white. And I feel like what this is saying is some of you have lost like a romantic partner. Well, let me clarify that. Someone you love deeply, more than a romantic partner. But I feel like what their message is don't think that you won't find love again. Don't think that. Think the opposite. And know that I am helping. I will send you a soulmate. I promise you. They don't want you to live alone. That is your choice. It's not like they want to override it, but I do, man, I feel the sense of like, it's interesting because that's exactly what's my son Steve did for me. Wow, I just realized that. I mean, I didn't just realize that, but I see now how it fits. And then, well, the Six of Cups. Oh, it is like a message from my son. But again, it's so that you can also believe, because this is telling my life. How interesting. Because that's exactly what he would do. He would try to ease my mind by not telling me the full truth of what was going on. He brought Sam into my life. And the Six of Cups. Well, Sam was someone that I dated as a teenager that truly had my heart, but not someone that I thought about. I didn't like it was 40 years between, you know, maybe longer, who knows. Um, but we got reconnected. It's funny because I've had some people ask me, well, what made Sam make that phone call to you after such a long time? And he says that God put it in his heart. And part of me, I'm not going to argue with that. That's probably the truth. But I also feel my son was also a big part of that. And again, I'm only telling you this because I want you to understand how our loved ones can speak to us. And boy, is Steve speaking. But on behalf of all of our loved ones, hmm, Six of Cups does talk about nostalgia, and that would make sense. Four of Wands, or the Two of Wands, I'm sorry, that has the Four of Wands over it, that's connected to that wheel. I do feel like this is the potential of a future partner. And when I say that those who have lost like a romantic partner, I do feel like it's a soulmate who's going to come in because soulmates are fantastic at helping us to heal, and vice versa. You may even find that this person, you know, has also lost someone. There could be a synchronicity that would kind of be hard to deny. Six of Cups is happy memories. And I do know that this is also what your spiritual team, your loved ones, want you to remember the happy times. But boy, do I feel like they're also, in a way, spiritually setting you up for something that you may completely unexpect. But it may rock your world. That guitar that sits in my room, I won't go through the whole story, but just the way it came to me. And the guitar looks exactly like the guitar my son loved. And even the wearings on the neck, like his look the same way. And a psychic told me that my son was going to move mountains to deliver a message to me that day. And it wasn't a bit, it had to be less than an hour when Sam walked in my room and brought me that guitar. And he said, look what I found just sitting. He went to the post office, sitting by, forget where he said, but he's like, it was just sitting. He goes, and I looked at the sky, and the sky was about to open up. So I grabbed a guitar, and he walks into my office and hands me the guitar. There's so much more to the story, but just saying, by the way, it was Diane, who I recognize when I do August birthdays as a soul sister, because she definitely channeled my son for quite a while. And then she said, you don't need me anymore. And I was like, yes, I do. But she was right. The King of Wands. Yep, King of Wands over the Queen of Wands. Interesting. So definitely like-minded energy. I do want to say we are getting a lot of Leo energy. But then again, just realize we're in the month of August. So we are in Leo's energy. We have the Nine of Wands. Another nine. This is a great nine. This is truly where you find your courage. This is a reflection back, and everyone behind this person is something they have overcome. It's everything. It's not just one thing. What you've overcome, even the times you have fallen, but you got back up again. This is reflecting upon one's life, or at least the last chapter. Because remember, we're in a 9-year cycle that is going to end. And we're starting a brand new 9-year cycle in 2026. So the Hermit is what's really getting us ready. I know you can't even see it. I'm sorry. I guess I could bring this down a little bit. Anyway, reflection. How strong I am. You know, it could have taken a while to get over certain ones, certain energy. But I do call this person my spirit warrior because I feel like this is part of the ticket to live a better life. I got to know where I've been. I've got to understand what I've overcome. That's where I find my strength, my courage. Why do I want to cry again? But it's not sad. I'm not feeling sad. I almost feel so proud that it's bringing tears in my eyes. Like I feel such pride and proudness of you that I pray that you feel it yourself. And by the way, that is coming from your spiritual team. Now, I also feel the same way because, I do know many of you. And you don't have to have been someone who's been with my channel forever. I feel like anyone who ends up in a reading is soul connected. Whether you stay or you go, I still feel like you're soul connected. All right, let's keep going. Eight of Swords. Well, there is that self-created prison. So is the Seven of Cups. Interesting. So, emotionally, and I get it. I get this sense of a period of time when I just don't want the world around me. I don't want the world to touch me. I don't want anybody to touch me. I just want to be left alone. Leave me alone. But they're not going to leave you alone. They're going to try their hardest for you to break yourself free. They don't want you living in this self-created prison. They want you free. And so do you. Some of you have already freed yourself. And again, this can talk about our thought system. We can talk about, like I made some radical changes after I lost my son. You know what I started to think eventually? Like, if I can live with this, then what am I doing playing it safe? Let's take some chances. And moving in with Sam was one of the biggest, because first of all, I had to leave my daughter. That was hard. But my son put the comfort in me that it was okay. Wow. I definitely feel like your loved ones or a loved one it wants you to understand, even if you think there's something that you could have done to change the outcome, I don't feel like there is. I feel like it was just their time. And when it's our time, then we go. But it definitely shut you down emotionally. And I totally get it. But it's interesting because I feel like even when you were in this period of time where I don't want the world to touch me, I still feel like these ideas, these epiphanies, um, these messages got through. Wow, look at that. The Eight of Wands. What I think about, I bring about. So how interesting. I just said I felt like these epiphanies got through that self-created prison. And this is like the law of attraction. What I think about, I bring about. Some of you are having these ideas and they're coming from higher realms. You may not know it, but then you start down that path and you start to realize there's a spiritual tang to this. Like I feel it. This is more than me. I feel that in my tarot readings all the time. It's like I feel like I'm just the messenger. This is also fast moving energy. So I guess when you're ready, when you're ready. And, it's two eights coming side by side. And again, the eight is the remembrance of as above, so below. But this is about energy in the Eight of Wands. What you're sending out and what's coming back. And again, even if I've been in this self-created prison, your guide still got through. Look at that, 888, 888. We have Four of Cups. So, Four of Cups talks about discontentment or boredom in one's emotional life. Of course, in here, I could just talk about, you know, cups that we have lost. But the Four of Cups is about a cup that is coming in. And it does ask you to use your spiritual discernment, trust in your guides. You know, there's a cup coming in within the Four of Cups, whether this person says yes or no. And I wish this image would show you, but normally you'll see a cup that's coming like from the hand of divine. Right over the Three of Swords, right under the Six of Cups. Look at that. Also connecting the Four of Wands to it. I would not be surprised if some of you are going to reconnect with someone where, let's just say, love will be the name of the game. Like love, love. King of Swords. Interesting, we had two kings back to back. King of Swords, Gemini, Libra, Aquarius. It's coming over the Four of Pentacles, which I don't know why I didn't really speak about. To me, the Four of Pentacles is about one's foundation, and making sure that anything that I start, that the foundation is strong. That's what can protect me against towers, let's say. If our foundation starts at a strong place, then the rest kind of takes care of itself. The King of Swords to me is someone who definitely has integrity, speaks the truth, demands the truth, right? If I speak it, I also want it. Just like the law of attraction here, right? I want to be what it is that I want, or I should be. It doesn't mean, because for some of us, we felt broken, but it doesn't mean that these amazing things won't find you or the opportunity. We have the devil, card of Capricorn. Interesting. Temptation. You know what else is interesting? Is this is mirroring the Eight of Swords. And I get this sense that some of you, how do I say this? Well, maybe have a hard time trusting. Hmm. Oh my God. And then the lovers. Now, let me tell you what's interesting about this. Now, of course, the card that I wish that represents often the devil, you'll see the devil's influence over the lovers. You'll see, like, in the lovers, well, this one doesn't have it either, but you'll usually see, like, Satan, dark energy that's influencing. You'll see the two lovers standing here, and they're in chains, and it's the dark influence over the lovers. And then you usually see in the lovers card the angel that's now influencing the lovers. Over the Four Swords, did I not say that your loved ones is going to send you a soulmate? Well, the lover showing up, to me, that feels like the ultimate. I get this sense, and this is not a love reading, but this is what your spirit team wants to talk about. And I know it's not for everyone, but I do get this sense, and for some, I feel like it's a husband or wife who is sending you a soulmate. But yet, I feel like as I say that, the other spiritual beings that are with us are like, well, so am I. So am I. So it's like, if that is what you're seeking, and I know for a period of time you shut yourself down, as did I. You know, mm, the lovers. The meaning is a head over heart decision. And that definitely fits here, especially with the Seven of Cups right above it, but also the Eight of Swords. And I get this sense that I'm either going to trust the dark or I'm going to trust the light. And if I'm trusting the dark, chances are I'm going to say no. If I'm trusting the light, chances are I'm going to say yes. Or let me put that a different way. Head over heart decision. The Queen and the King of Wands, they are not fear based. So they're going to follow the passion. And again, the Four of Wands that is on this wheel. It starts at the Two of Wands. but it is showing us it moves into the world's energy. So that is your next chapter. And by the way, probably for the rest of your life, as it relates to love right now, it's probably someone you already know, probably someone from, let's just say, back in the day. It can certainly be a past life also, but I am definitely feeling that this is the recreation of the Ten of Cups, just in a different light. But it doesn't mean, you know, like for some of you, you may say, well, no one can replace this person. They're not trying to replace them. This is someone different. But this is someone who I feel, well, I feel if you give a chance, you might realize that. It's funny how I said in the Hermit's energy, sometimes we're seeking a hero, but we realize that we are our own hero. Then it's mirroring the lovers. By the way, Virgo, Gemini, they both share Mercury. So communication, or maybe even while Mercury is in retrograde, some of you may start to see, you know, that scares me a little because Mercury in retrograde, um, I feel like let's listen. Let's do the listening. Let's hear what they have to say. Someone's contacting you out of the blue. Let's just listen. Let's just hear them out and then make a decision. The lovers definitely speaks of chemistry. It's undeniable. That woman who's spinning that wheel in that black dress, who's blindfolded, she doesn't know what lies ahead, but she's willing to take that chance. The Emperor. Now we have the father figure. We have the mother figure, father figure. Let me also tell you what I feel like this is representing is the type of person. And I feel like this is to ease your mind even more. This is someone you can look up to. If he was in reverse, I would tell you no. That's a weird color. Um, something new I started noticing about the Emperor, which again happened in a personal reading, and this person was a photographer, and I never noticed it before, but she was wondering whether she should create this business, and I said, "Look at that. The Emperor's holding an actual camera." So we knew right away. But anyway, so the Emperor. The difference between the Empress and the Emperor. The Empress is, goes more by the seat of her pants. But she totally believes in the epiphanies and the ideas that are being sent her way. She's very creative, loving, and nurturing. Um, just carries that natural energy. The Emperor is more methodical, also compassionate and empathetic. Both are great leaders. And again, they may lead differently. The Emperor is someone who puts plans in place. So it's interesting, I keep saying about writing things down, writing things down. And this can even talk about like your ability to create from the heartache. But I mean it from a sense of, well, number one, I feel like whatever it may be, this can certainly be a business owner. The Two of Wands is what's mirroring it, along with the World and the Four of Wands. And what's in between it? The Eight of Wands. What I think about, I bring about. Well, this is a high vibrational energy sitting right next to the lovers. Card of Aries, by the way, did I say that? Um, to me, this is a great sign. And I'm not just talking about love. I'm talking about, like, I feel like what this is saying is we have the perfect person in mind. You know, yes, you do want to free yourself from that self-created prison. Let yourself, don't keep putting blame on yourself. I know I had to work through that. Like, if only I would have done this, if only I could have done that, but what I hear is this was my path. This was my path. That's what my son tells me. This is my path. This was my soul's lessons. There was nothing you could do but just be who you were. Okay, wow. Hello, soulmates. So, thank you guys. I feel like I feel like they're supporting me in knowing. I feel like the color of the screen is also weird. But this is soulmates. And it's mirroring the Six of Cups. So some of you already know who this person is. Again, it may be back in the day, but doesn't matter. And I feel like this is not something I need to be out searching for. I feel like the Three of Wands is the best energy, right? I'm going to live in the present moment. I'm going to know that my ships are going to come in their due time, right? I'm going to expect good things to happen. And I know that's like a change of mind, but that may be exactly what's needed. Believe in the afterlife. Because if you truly believe in it, then, like I knew right away that they were sending you a soulmate. And then to see it, it's like I don't need to see it to believe it. But I feel like for some of you, it helps you to see it. Well, there it is. And hello, Emperor, right between soulmates and the lovers. All right. It's like this reading doesn't want to end. The moon again. Three moons. Something going on with the moon. The world again. How interesting is coming over the Hermit, over the Three of Wands, and the Ten of Cups. I see this Ace of Pentacles sitting. Oh, you can't see me. There's an Ace of Pentacles sitting here. But I have these cards that will have to come first. So we're going to do that. Death card, the Four of Pentacles, and now the Ace of Wands. So the Ace of Wands speaks about something that's coming into your physical world. It is tangible. You can touch it. Some of you, you can kiss it. It comes in as a seed, but if you nurture this seed, it will only grow and blossom and send out new seeds. I never feel the Ace of Pentacles is a one-time thing. It reminds me of like a garden. And maybe I planted, five different types of vegetables, but I want to nurture each one of them and they're all going to blossom and keep producing fruits. I feel what this is saying because in the Four of Wands, you can see here how she's being a little resistant. And again, that's our personal choice. That's our free will. But look what's mirroring the Ace of Pentacles, the Death card. Which again, I know is your spiritual team. I definitely feel like some of you, your dad has now entered into the picture. I feel like it's not that he just entered, it's just now we see that. Like he's been here all along, don't get me wrong. But I also feel the Emperor and the Empress is a representation of future love, future business. And let me tell you, if there's two people who could collaborate together and build a business together, it is the Emperor and the Empress. Like success all day long. I mean, they do have to allow each other to be who they are, right? Methodical, plans, creative, do my thing, you know, doesn't matter. But look at this. Again, the world mirroring the lovers, the soulmates right in between, and then the Ace of Pentacles, literally telling us that this is not just a pipe dream. This is something that can actually be. Now, it's going to be different for different people. But I feel like if you're following along and you can feel your messages is in here, if you're someone who I feel like your loved one knows or wants someone special in your life, then I feel like get ready. Well, I say get ready. I don't know if you have to get ready, but maybe just being open. Maybe that's the ticket. I'm just open. I'm open to what my beautiful spiritual team wants to produce, wants to help me produce in my life. And when I see the wheel, oftentimes I feel like it can also speak of predestined. Almost like, okay, my soul may have known before it came into this lifetime that I would only have so long with a certain person. So the soulmate also being in line in its destined time. Well, here it is. And I feel like one of the clues is saying, yes, you are the one who's going to make a head over heart decision. But I feel like what it's saying is the chemistry is a big part. The like-mindedness is the big part. There is no energy here of laziness. So if someone comes into the picture, no matter what maybe it's a partner that I want to collaborate with. If they're lazy, they're not for me. I see it nowhere. Matter of fact, what I'm really seeing is the willingness to put the energy behind these ideas and these epiphanies. And the world keeps showing up also. And I feel like with that, it just feels beautiful. It feels beautiful. Wow. All right. Let's bring out the clarifying love situation. I wasn't going to, but because we have, well, these are more than just about love. And this reading is more than just about love. But the ones it's speaking to about love, baby, it's love. But you can say no. Or you can just take a step into it. Put your toes in the water. See what the water feels like. If you want to change course, change course. Like, sometimes I feel like we forget the power of us. All right, well, hello, divine union. Oh my gosh, use the wings of empathy to bring love and harmony. First of all, the wings of empathy. Now, Why do I keep saying it? Because I feel like the wings are speaking, it could be speaking of your angels for sure. But I also feel like it is the wings, it's the loved ones. Look at that. Divine union. It's the only one that came in the upright, also. Did it? I think it did. Fiery balance. Embrace intense forces. Offset turmoil. And stabilize with calm resolve. Safeguard steps. Sometimes to protect oneself, the bravest act is to walk away. Sometimes to protect oneself, the bravest steps is to walk away. Leadership's lore. Dominate in spirit, fueled by pride. Yet true control lies in wisdom's embrace. Wow. I feel like what your spiritual team is saying is you have these leadership abilities. And I love how it's talking about spirit, who is really fueling that. And the pride that they have. I already felt all that. Like, that's what's been bringing tears to my eyes. Counsel's compass. Seek advice to steer judgment as insightful talks illuminate your journey. Seek advice to steer judgment as insightful talks illuminate your journey. So it could definitely talk about some, seeking out counsel. Of course, I hope you find the answers you need here, but I mean, I am not a counselor. I am not a therapist, though I feel like I play one at work, so to speak. All right. I feel like let's end this with the romance angels. It's almost like, how can't we? How could we leave them out when we have so much love on the board of all forms? Definitely a romance. And one more time, I just want to say, because I want you to see this, the Two of Wands, with the Eight of Wands right below that, what I think about, I bring about, where she's got the marriage card over her. This Four of Wands energy is sitting on the wheel, where someone is spinning that wheel with blind faith. And to me, that's a sense of trusting within divine. And then this Four of Wands, where I do feel like some have lost that, but the reclaiming of it is just different. Some of you, it's someone you already know, but it can also be past lives. And I feel like, there's a lot of cards here, but ultimately, I know the Ten of Cups is right there. And I feel like it's about living in the Ten of Cups, but it may be different, and allowing yourself. And I get that. Like, it's hard to allow yourself to be happy and joyful when you worry, but I want you to turn that around and know that your loved ones want you to be in joy. They want you to seek out these adventures. You know, because otherwise it's like their hard work. So again, zero judgment. So I shouldn't even have said that. These messages feel not only beautiful, but boy, do I feel like divinely, like I feel like your spiritual team got through to me, as did my son. And this is why I'm doing the reading. All right, flirt. Extend your lighthearted energy to others. It reminds me of the Three of Wands, and that, is not always easy to do. Honeymoon. Enjoy the bliss of holiday time together. Holiday time. What holiday's coming up? I guess it depends where you live. We have people from all over the world, which I just love. This reminds me of Italy. I don't know why, it just does. Then we have express your love. Go ahead and make that romantic gesture. Feel like that's time back to the Six of Cups. And passion. Allow your heart and soul to sing with joy. We could have just, I feel like this is the most important message here. Allow your heart and soul to sing with joy. It's represented everywhere. Everywhere. All right, I'm going to let that be. So, as soon as I said that, Mother Mary is calling for one more card, Oh, well, that did not take long. Quiet. Mother Mary wanted me to bring out one more card. But it's Mother Mary chose this card. Quiet. I know this energy. I go into peaceful silence and I listen. This is where you hear your loved ones. I go into peaceful silence and I listen. Mother Mary wanted that to come out for you. Thank you. Thank you to our guides who have been so clear. Thank you to my beautiful son, as always. Thank you to you. You know, well, let me just say this. This is one of those readings when your soul is ready to hear it, it's going to hear it. And you may watch it the first time and not quite pick up those special messages. And I'm not telling you to go ahead and watch it again because I have a feeling this is long. Well, what some would call long. I just feel like it's complete, you know. And I could be quicker. I could talk faster, but it got to be me. You know what I mean? But anyways, I'm gonna let that be. I love you guys. I thank you. Your loved ones thank you. It's for the love that you've given them and the love they're now giving you. You can feel it in these quiet moments. It's so interesting. But there's something else that's been on my mind over and over again. And when these things are on my mind over and over, I know it's meant for a reading somewhere. But I kept hearing about special moments, things happening in special moments. It's not about the grand scale, it is about that special moment. And that special moment can be the catalyst that changes everything. So, still talking. I love you guys so much. I thank you. Know my heart is always with you. Always. And I will see you next time at our table. You know, This message will find you, your soul. Your soul is ready to hear it. I just know that. I'll see you next time. Bye bye.